The Medicine of Experience, page number 501.
Medicine is a science of experience. Its objective is to eradicate diseases by means of remedies. The knowledge of diseases, the knowledge of remedies, and the knowledge of their employment constitute medicine. As the wise and beneficent Creator has permitted those innumerable states of the human body differing from health, which we term diseases, He must at the same time have revealed to us a distinct mode whereby we may obtain a knowledge of diseases that shall suffice to enable us to employ the remedies capable of subduing them. He must have shown to us an equally distinct mode whereby we may discover in medicines those properties that render them suitable for the cure of the diseases. If he did not mean to leave his children helpless or to require of them what was beyond their power. This art, so indispensable to suffering humanity, cannot therefore remain concealed in the unfathomable depths of obscure speculation, or be diffused throughout the boundless void of conjecture. It must be accessible, readily accessible to us within the sphere of vision of our external and internal perceptive faculties. External and internal perceptive faculties. అది ఉంటే ఎవరికైనా తెలుస్తుంది. 2,000 years were wasted by physicians in endeavoring to discover the invisible internal changes that take place in the organism in diseases and in searching for their proximate causes and a priori nature, because they imagined that they could not cure before they had attained to this impossible knowledge. If the fruitlessness of these long-continued endeavors cannot be regarded as a proof of the impossibility of this undertaking, the maxim of experience that they were unnecessary for the cure might suffice to shew the impossibility. For the great spirit of the universe, the most consistent of all beings, has made that only possible which is necessary. Although we never can attain to a knowledge of internal corporeal changes on which diseases depend, yet the observation of their external exciting causes has its use. No alteration occurs without a cause. Diseases must have their exciting causes concealed, though they may be from us in the greater number of cases. We observe a few diseases which always arise from one and the same cause. Example, the miasmatic maladies, hydrophobia, the venereal disease, the plague of the Levant, yellow fever, smallpox, cowpox, the measles and some others, which bear upon them the distinctive mark of always remaining diseases of a peculiar character, and because they arise from a contagious principle that always remains the same, they also always retain the same character and pursue the same course, excepting as regards some accidental concomitant circumstances which however do not alter their essential character. Probably some other diseases which we cannot shew to depend on a peculiar miasm as gout, marsh, egg, and several other diseases that occur here and there endemically, besides a few others, also arise from a single unvarying cause or from the confluence of several definite causes that are liable to be associated and are always the same, otherwise they would not produce diseases of such a specific kind and would not occur so frequently. These few diseases, at all events those first mentioned, the miasmatic, we may therefore term specific and when necessary bestow on them distinctive appellations. If a remedy If a remedy have been discovered for one of these, it will always be able to cure, for such a disease always remains essentially identical, both in its manifestations, the representatives of its internal nature, and its cause. All the other innumerable diseases exhibit such a difference in their phenomena that we may safely assert that they arise from a combination of several dissimilar causes, varying in number and differing in nature and intensity. ఆ 5 ఏమో ఒకే కాజ్ ఉంటాయి, ఇవి డిఫరెంట్ కాజెస్ వస్తాయి. The number of words that may be constructed from an alphabet of 24 letters may be calculated, great though that number be, but who can calculate the number of those dissimilar diseases, since our bodies can be affected by innumerable and still for the most part unknown influences of external agencies and by almost as many forces from within. All things that are capable of exercising any action and laid number of incurable are able to act upon and to produce changes in our organism, which is intimately connected with and in conflict with all parts of universe, and all may produce different effects as they differ among themselves. Footnote, incalculable అన్నప్పుడు some of these are example, the innumerable varieties of orders, the more or less noxious exhalations from organic and inorganic substances, the various gases that possess such different irritating properties that act upon our nerves in the atmosphere, in our manufacturers and in our dwellings, or rise from the water, the earth, animals and plants. Deficiency of pure open air, the indispensable ailment of our vitality, excess or deficiency of the sunlight, excess or deficiency of both kinds of electricity, differences in the pressure of atmosphere, in its humidity or dryness, the still unascertained peculiarities of mountains, these mountainous regions compared with the low-lying plains and deep valleys, peculiarities of climate or situation on large plains and on deserts, destitute of plants or water, compared with the sea, with marshy districts, hills, woods and various winds, the influence of very changeable or too uniform weather, the influence of storms and other meteoric phenomena, too great heat or cold of the air, defect or excess of warmth in our clothing, in our rooms, the constriction of various parts of the body by different articles of dress, the degree of coldness or heat of our food and drink, hunger or thirst, excessive qualities of food and drink, their noxious or medicinal nature, and their power of causing changes in the body, which are inherent in some, as wine, spirits, beer, prepared with more or less hurtful plants, drinks containing foreign ingredients, coffee, tea, exotic, and indigenous spices, and highly seasoned viands, sauces, liquors, chocolate and cakes, the unknown, noxious or health-deranging properties of some vegetables and animals when used as food, as are imparted to others by careless preparation, decomposition, falsification or adulteration, example, ill-fermented and imperfectly baked bread, underdone animals and vegetable veins, or other articles of diet spoiled in various ways, decomposed, mouldy or adulterated for the sake of gain, liquid and solid food prepared or kept in metal vessels, made up, drugged wine, vinegar sharpened with acrid substances, the flesh of diseased animals, flour adulterated with gypsum or sand, corn mixed with injurious seeds, vegetables mixed with or changed for dangerous plants, from malicious motives, ignorance or poverty, want of cleanliness of the body, of the clothing, of the dwelling, hurtful substances which get into the food during its preparation and keeping, from want of cleanliness and from negligence. Dust of various unwholesome kinds arising from the substances used in the manufactories and workshops. The neglect of various police arrangements for the protection of the well-being of community, excessive weakening of our corporeal powers, too violent active or passive exercise, inordinate excretions from various organs, abnormal exertion of certain organs of the senses, various unnatural positions and attitude attendant on different kinds of work, neglect of the employment of various parts, or general inactivity of the body, irregularity in the periods devoted to rest, meals and labor, excess or deficiency of sleep, overexertion in mental employment generally, or in such especially excite or fatigue certain faculties of mind, or which are of injurious and forced character, overpowering or enervating passions produced by certain kinds of reading, education, bad habits and unemployment, abuse of sexual function, reproaches of the conscience, uncomfortable domestic affairs, annoying family relations, fear, fright, vexation, etc. అది ఎంత అర్థం చేసుకోవడానికి ఇచ్చారో పాపం. అండ్ దేర్ నంబర్ ఆఫ్ అండ్ దేర్ నెంబర్ ఈజ్ ఇన్కాలిక్యులబుల్ అని ఇచ్చాడు డిస్క్రిప్షన్. ఎంత అసలు ఎంత ఓపిక, ఎంత అబ్జర్వేషన్. Hence it happens that with the exception of those few diseases that are always the same, all other are dissimilar and innumerable and so different that each of them occurs scarcely more than once in the world, and each case of disease that presents itself must be regarded and treated as an individual malady that never before occurred in the same manner and under the same circumstances as in the case before us, and will never again happen precisely in the same way. To this head belong a number of diseases which, owing to a want of accuracy in the comparison of all their symptoms, have been recorded as identical maladies merely from the circumstances of someone striking resemblance. Example: dropsy, scrofula, wasting, hypochondriasis, rheumatism, spasms and so forth. The very circumstance that in one case one mode of treatment was successful, that was of no avail in 10 others, should have shown that the difference was not properly observed. It is true be said that there is a middle sort of betwixt those specific and those dissimilar diseases of a mixed character. Example: tetanus, prosopagnosia, diabetes, pneumonia, phthisis, cancer, etc. And that almost a great number of cases of each of these diseases present dissimilar characters and therefore require a definite treatment, yet some cases present so much resemblances among themselves in their symptoms and mode of cure that they should be considered as the same malady. This distinction, however, has not much practical, consequently little real value for we ought to observe and investigate accurately each case in order to find out what is the suitable remedy. If I have discovered this, it is a matter of great indifference whether I then become aware of this same disease with all its symptoms and with the same curative indications has presented itself to me before, and this knowledge could not be led me to any other or better mode of cure, and the cure is the aim of all kinds of diagnosis of disease, and the efficacious and best adapted one. దానికి ఇందాక ఆన్సర్ సరికి how are it possible to arrange such incongabilia into classes, orders, genera, species, varieties and sub-varieties like organic beings, and to give names to such states of the extremely composite psychico-corporeal microcosm, subject as it is to such varied irritations by such innumerable agencies of states that are capable of such an infinity of modifications and shades of difference. The millions of morbid cases that occur perhaps but once in the world require no names. We only require to cure them. Diseases have been associated together accordingly to some merely external resemblance, or from some similarity of cause, or of one or other symptom, in order that they might be treated by the same medicine with a small outlay of trouble. ఏవో కొన్నిట్లో సిమిలారిటీగా కనిపించేయాలంత మాత్రాన ఆ డిసీజెస్ మనం సిమిలర్ వాటిగా కన్సిడర్ చేయడం కాకుండా ఎలాగా ఇదవ్వాలో మనం స్టడీ చేయాలి. The internal essential nature of every malady, of every individual case of disease, as far as it is necessary for us to know it for the purpose of curing it, expresses itself by the symptoms as they present themselves to the investigations of the true observer in their whole extent, connection and succession. When the physician has discovered all the observable symptoms of the disease that exist, he has discovered the disease itself. He has attained the complete conception of it requisite to enable him to effect a cure. In order to trace the picture of the disease, the physician requires to proceed in a very simple manner. All that he needs is carefulness in observing and fidelity in copying. He should entirely avoid all conjectures. Leading persons The physician thus hears a second time what he had formerly noted down. If the expressions correspond with what was already related, they may be considered as true, as the voice of internal conviction. If they do not correspond, if the expressions correspond with what was already related, they may be considered as true as the voice of internal conviction. If they do not correspond, the discrepancy must be pointed out to the patient or those about him in order that they may explain which of the two descriptions was nearest to the truth, and thus what required confirmation is confirmed and what required alteration is altered. We cannot rely on the patient or his attendants possessing such an accurate memory that after a short interval of time they should repeat in exactly the same form and manner the expressions that may at first have been inaccurately or hastily chosen. There will certainly then occur variations which must be pointed out to them so that they may select more accurate or definite expressions in the description of their sensations and convictions. If the picture be not yet complete, if there be parts or functions of the body regarding whose state neither the patient nor his attendants have said anything, the physician then asks what they can remember respecting these parts or functions. But he should frame his question in general terms so as to cause his informant to give the special details in his own words. When the patient, except in cases of feigned diseases, most most reliance is to be placed on him as regards his sensations, as by these spontaneous and almost unprompted details put the physician in possession of a tolerably complete picture of the disease, it is allowable for the latter to institute more particular inquiry. Number 2, not the reason. For example, habesic as regards the fecal evacuation. How does the urine flow? How habesic with the sleep by day or by night? How is his disposition? How the thirst? What sort of taste in the mouth? What kinds of food and drink does he relish most? What agree with him best? Has each of them its natural perfect taste? Has he anything to state respecting to head, the limbs or the abdomen, etc.? For example, how often has he an all-wine evacuation? What is the character of it? Is it accompanied or not by pain? Is the sleep profound or light? He then asks more minutely, example, are the sufferings complained of persistent or remittent? How often they do occur? Only in the room, only in the open air, only during rest or during motion of the body, at what time of the day or under what conditions, what precedes, what accompanies, and what follows them, and finally he addresses quite specific questions. Does he start in his sleep? Does he groan, talk in his sleep? What does he talk about? Was the whitish evacuation, mucus or feces, etc.? The answers to these last more special questions, however, which have somewhat the character of suggestions, should not be accepted by the physician as the first response as perfectly true, but after making a note of them on the margin, he should make fresh enquiries respecting them in a different manner and in another order, and he should warn the patient and his attendants in their answers to make accurate replies, and to make no additions, but merely to tell the exact circumstances of the case. For example, how he behaved, what he did in his sleep, what the motions consisted of, does the symptom may occur only in the morning, only when at rest, when lying, or when sitting, what happens when he raises himself up in bed, etc. But an intelligent patient will often spare the physician the trouble of making more these particular inquiries, and in his account of the history of his disease will usually have made voluntary mention of these circumstances. When the physician has completed this examination, he notes down what he has silently observed in the patient during his visit, and he corrects this by what the attendants tell him, how much of this was or was not usual with the patient in his days of health. For example, if the patient talked restlessly about and how he behaved, whether he was sulky or quarrelsome, hasty or anxious, unconscious, comatose, whether he spoke in a low voice or incoherently or otherwise, what kind of complexion he has, what appearance the eyes present, what expression of countenance is shown, what is the state of the tongue, the breath, the smell of the mouth or the hearing, how much the pupils are dilated, how rapidly and to what extent they alter in the dark and the light, the state of the pulse, of the abdomen, of the skin in general, or of particular portions of it as regards moisture and temperature, whether he lies with his head thrown back, uncovered or closely covered up, whether he lies only on his back with his mouth open, with the arms above the head, or what other position he assumes, with what amount of exertion he raises himself up, and anything else that may strike the physician or is desirable by him.